Namaste. Today I'm going to share with you a very interesting awakening experience, an experience that created a profound change in the way I experience things around me. This was in the year 1997 or 98, so it was more than about 25, 27 years ago. And I very clearly remember that day I was sitting in front of my computer and I was following a particular exercise, a spiritual grounding exercise. And that was when I got this awakening experience. So I'll first tell you what exactly I was doing so you'll get an idea of what was the spiritual grounding exercise. And then I'll also share with you what I experienced while I was doing this particular activity. The exercise was very simple. I was sitting in front of my computer, sitting very relaxed, and I was focusing my awareness on the sun, imagining as if a white beam of light was coming down from the sun to my body. Obviously, I had my eyes closed, and I was imagining as if that beam of white light was coming up to my crown chakra, then entering into my body, moving through all the seven chakras, exiting from my feet, and going down straight to the center of the earth. So, hundreds of miles below, I traveled with my consciousness to the center of the earth. There, that white beam of light merged with the energy of the earth, and then it shot back up using the same path, got into my feet, moved up through the seven chakras, and came out from my crown chakra and went straight up to the sun. So the whole energy went back to the sun. There again, there was some kind of a nice divine explosion, and that energy came back using the same path, entered my crown chakra, went through my entire body up till the time it reached the center of the earth. And I did this about 5, 6 times. And after that, I locked that cycle. Okay, so that cycle continued happening. I was completely aware of my body. And then I imagined as if the heart chakra opened up and a beam of white light came out of the heart chakra, the Anahat chakra, and it created a complete cover around me. So I felt as if there was an entire ball of white light which was around me. And I was like enclosed inside a divine egg of bright white light. Okay. So below me, above me, all around. And obviously, at one end, there was the sun, and the other end, deep down below, was the center of the earth. And these 2 points were connected, obviously, through me. And I was in this state, trying to keep my consciousness to the entire process. And then all of a sudden, and this was in about maybe 7 to 8 minutes, should not be anything more than that. Suddenly, there was a shift, a complete shift in my consciousness, and I experienced something which I had never experienced before. I suddenly felt as if I was no longer restricted to the confines of my body. I suddenly felt as if I had become much more than my body, much larger than my body. In fact, I suddenly felt as if I had no start point and I had no end point. So I was starting nowhere and I was ending nowhere. And it was a feeling as if I had become bigger than the biggest. But at the same time, interestingly, there was a very opposite feeling as well. And I felt as if while I was bigger than the biggest, I was also smaller than the smallest. At one end, I felt I was bigger than the biggest. I was as big as anything else. But at the same time, I realized that I was smaller than the smallest. Miles below me, there was absolutely nothing. Miles above me, there was absolutely nothing. And this was a very unique feeling that I had never felt before. Another very interesting feeling that came to me was I felt as if everything around me was just me and me. There was absolutely no separation. There was a feeling of complete non-duality. I felt as if the computer was me, the chair was me, the room was me, and the walls and the table and Everything that was around me, I could simply identify it as myself. And I had a very deep feeling of love for all those things. Okay. There was a feeling of love, in fact, was so deep, so profound, so unique that I had never experienced that kind of intense love ever in my life. It was like pure, unconditional love. My body had become completely light. I felt as if I was floating around. I didn't have any weight. I was just suspended somewhere in the middle of something. And there was a feeling as if I knew much more than what I earlier knew. Somewhere, my consciousness had got connected with some other much bigger consciousness, which was much more than what I was. In fact, one interesting thing that happened suddenly was that I suddenly felt as if I had lost my body. It felt almost like an out of body experience. And to be very honest with you, that was a little scary for me, because suddenly I felt that, oh my God, what has happened to me? If everything around me is me, and I'm not starting anywhere, I'm not ending anywhere, miles below me, nothing, miles above me, nothing, I'm bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest, everything is around me, then where am I? I just could not identify with my body. And that was a little scary. And that is what pulled me back into my earlier level of consciousness. So I was a bit taken aback, and I quickly got back to my own self, my earlier level of consciousness. And that made me feel good for a short while. But suddenly I realized that that earlier feeling of love and non-duality and floating feel and all of that had suddenly shifted into something which I was experiencing before that whole exercise. And I started missing that feeling. I realized that that feeling was so divine and that experience was so amazing that I wanted to go back to that experience, but that wasn't happening. I had come back to my earlier level of consciousness. One more thing which I forgot to tell you is that that zone appeared to be like a timeless zone. I don't know. It felt as if that zone had a different quality. There was absence of time. I didn't notice how much time I spent there in that particular exercise. So a very unique experience of a timeless zone also happened to me. So if you happen to do that exercise and you get this kind of a feeling, do not get worried, do not get scared, and don't just pop out of that state back into your earlier consciousness. Enjoy that state, and quite possibly you might have a much better experience of awakening as compared to what I experienced. After that experience, in fact, friends, a couple of times again, I went into those deeper levels of consciousness, oneness, non-duality. I kept on experiencing that pretty frequently, not as deeply as this first experience. This first experience was absolutely unique and amazing, but it created a profound change in the way that I looked at things around, in the way I looked at people around me. Because deep down there was a realization that all these people around me were nothing else but me and me. There was no duality. Everybody who was there in my family, my friends, people I knew, people who I didn't know, yeah, even strangers, I just knew that these people and I, we just share the same consciousness. We are just one. And that brought a huge shift in my relationships, in the way I connected with people, in the kind of communication I had, in the kind of love that I was able to experience towards them. Okay. So I still have that feeling every day. That realization is still there with me. It was a beautiful experience. These days, I use this level of consciousness, this stillness, oneness, to heal people. It's called as the 0 point state of stillness. And this 0 point state of stillness is so amazing that it can trigger a very powerful healing response if anybody around me connects with me while I'm in that state of stillness. So if I'm at the 0 point state of stillness, this non-dual state, if anybody who has a health issue even comes into my proximity, then their bodies simply start healing using their own intelligence or using the universal intelligence. These days, I use the quantum field, the 0 point field, to help people overcome various health issues. But this state of stillness, this state of oneness, gives me a lot of nourishment to my soul. It helps me overcome stress. It keeps me grounded very deeply, and it gives me a completely unique level of peace, calmness, and joy. Very divine, blissful feeling is there all the time inside my body, my mind, my spirit. Interestingly, anyone can easily experience the 0 point state of stillness and no mind within minutes, and can also use it for healing self and others. Do connect with me to know more about this. My contact details are given below. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.